even if they do want to share their problems with us, they don't really like pour their heart out. You know, they just like, oh yeah, today my girlfriend quarreled with me.
Hi, my name is Steven and I'm going to be 21 this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelly and I'm 22 years old this year.
Hi, my name is James and I'm 27 this year.
Hi, I'm Jianing, I'm 21 years old.
Hi everyone, I'm Simin and I'm 23 years old this year.
Mental illnesses can be self-diagnosed.
I feel like mental illness, I think, has to be taken pretty seriously. It's like with internet and everything, we can just like Google and we read the symptoms and self-diagnose. But I think many times we're very prone to misdiagnosis and then we can under or over-diagnose ourselves. More importantly, you know, like how when people say that, oh, I have OCD, just because they're a bit neater or like they cannot stand messy things. I think it also creates an environment that undermines the severity of someone having an OCD, like truly medically diagnosed OCD syndrome.
I feel like we can also, or at least for me, I would think that one can actually somewhat self-diagnose themselves by merely just acknowledging that they do have some kind of mental health, because I feel like it isn't whether somebody has it or somebody doesn't. I feel like it's on a scale, how happy or sad you are, like, and the percentage of that.
So when I say somewhat agree, it does not mean from the point of like being clinically diagnosed with a certain mental health issue. It's really that preemptive stage where you kind of start noticing the various symptoms you might be suffering from. If let's say I have flu-like symptoms, it would prompt me to go and see a doctor. This self-diagnosis is basically that impetus for them to move towards the next phase, which is then to seek professional help.
The culture in Singapore makes it difficult for people to seek mental help.
I feel that Singapore is still a very conservative society. There isn't enough conversations and education related to like mental health. And you see like stories whereby primary school kids actually committed suicide because they feel like their grades are not good enough to meet their parents' expectations. So I think schools should start like when kids are young, so they inculcate this mentality that it's okay not to be okay. And like you don't really see like TV shows talking about mental health. So like a lack of awareness can actually cause a lot of like stigma against mental illness, because people tend to have like misinformation about what mental health is.
Yeah, I really agree with Jenny just there. Because I think like, if for example they have like these TV shows about mental health, what they fear is like when they publish it, they fear it promotes the mental health itself, not like, oh, there is this person who has mental health. So that's why it's like they don't want to like showcase a lot. In the future, I think it's a good way to like opening up and then showcase it. Oh, probably this problem really exists. Not only like people that are crazy like that, but normal people also have these kinds of mental health.
Actually, the way I interpreted the word culture was quite different. So to me, I feel like the problem for the common person is that they don't really acknowledge that they are mentally unhealthy. I think it's because probably the fast-moving economy that is Singapore. So I feel like many people would just dismiss their negative emotions as something very temporary. So I feel like this shows that many people don't really take their mental health very seriously. So it really takes a lot for someone to take that first step to acknowledge it and then to seek help.
I think there's also a lack of policies that actually really help Singaporeans with mental health issues. So I know that you can like go see a therapist or a psychiatrist and then claim it from your MediSave and something like that. But then it's still like technically your money and it's not really and it's not covered by insurance. I think that's also a crucial point, is because it's not covered by like these kind of public policies and insurance policy, mental illness kind of is being like isolated and excluded.
I think in some areas also, if we look at the amenities out there and the resources out there, I would think that it's a little lacking. And private clinics are super expensive. It's $200 for an hour. And what I realize is that not a lot of people know of this thing where there are FSCs and VWOs that charge their rates on a sliding scale, which means you pay based on your income bracket. So like for whoever's out there listening also, if you never knew, it's also clear like.
It is possible to tell if an individual has mental health issues by their physical appearances.
So I said this, I disagree with that statement solely because of the statement itself. Like if you gave me a mugshot of like 10 different people and you asked me which one of them has mental health issues or problems, I wouldn't be able to tell, even if like some are a bit happier or some are sadder.
The reason why I put somewhat disagree is because I feel like those that are closer to the people that are suffering from mental illnesses might be able to tell, because I think there was one period of time where I myself was like really stressed out, and I took a short break and just hung out with some of my friends. And while I was driving my friend home, he actually like stopped me from like talking, and then he suddenly like asked me like, Simi, are you okay? Like you suddenly look like a bit different, like a bit off. You don't feel like the Simi that I used to know. And then that triggered like a long conversation on like my personal mental health.
I think it's easier to spot the difference with a closer friend or like a relative. But I think for certain severe mental health issues like disorders with food or anything, then possibly there could be manifestations physically. But I think it's very rare also, because everyone would want to show their best side to people when they go out. That's why I put disagree for me.
I think ultimately it's not about what that person is exhibiting at that point in time as well, because even healthy individuals, we go through, like, if someone passes away, we'll be sad for like an amount of time. And if let's say, you're rushing a project, naturally you'll be more stressed, you'll be more irritable as well. So I think it's also important to note this rather than, like if let's say, oh yeah, this person is sad or must be depressed all the time, that kind of thing.
Men with mental illnesses are less likely to seek help as compared to women.
Okay, so I think it's like a burden of toxic masculinity. So how girls deal with breakup, right, is usually they find a group of girls to like have ice cream and then like cry together and then like rant about the breakup lah. But from my guy friends' perspective, right, they don't really do that. They will like drink alcohol, go clubbing and stuff. Like that's their outlet to like vent out their frustrations and anger from the breakup lah. And I think like guys are kind of raised to like always like man up and like, not show their emotions too much, to play it cool.
Actually, it's very rare to see a guy cry. If you know that the guys cry, that means he been through a lot recently. Guys cry, that means they putting their pride on the line because of what society thinks about men.
If it's difficult to seek help, right, like what can the society do to help foster a more conducive environment, for men to seek help?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, very hard. Good question is very hard to answer.
I mean, conversations like this is definitely one of the ways forward as well. In a stalemate, like who's going to go first? You can talk about different factors, but they're like, oh, I don't want to speak about it until that person speaks about it. Then someone else is like, oh yeah, but I also don't want to do the same. Then no one's moving forward as well.
Yeah.
Actually, drawing some parallels to this conversation, I feel like sometimes I would like it if my guy friends would be a bit more open to being vulnerable among their own close group of friends, because I feel like even if they do want to share their problems with us, they don't really like pour their heart out. They just like, oh yeah, today my girlfriend quarreled with me. Then yeah, it's kind of like on the surface, you don't really know how to help them until like they actually start to explain things from their perspective.
I think the only way that for us being comfortable of like seeking help, I think is like equality. Equality in the sense like social acceptance. We just want like some girls to not have like this like have this mindset first, like saying like, oh wow, this guy is very, very weak one. She wants to like share this kind of like deep feelings. Like
not dependable at all.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this episode of SG Layers. We hope this episode can help you better understand the importance of mental health.
We have also included some resources in the description box for you to learn more. Subscribe to SG Layers and we'll see you next Monday.